Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining me in the record room today. Thought I would come on here with a bit of a quick tribute to a recently departed reggae artist, passed away September 12th, 2024 at 64 years of age, just a couple of weeks shy of his 65th birthday. An artist some may not have heard of, don't have a massive amount of his music myself, but maybe enough to give a brief introduction to the man called Floyd Anthony Perch, better known on record as Kojak, or sometimes Papa Kojak, who was one of a wave of artists in the very late 1970s, going into the early 1980s, who signaled a shift in reggae music from the roots and culture concerns of the 1970s into the early dancehall era, with a widening of lyrical subject matter available and a youthful, more energetic style of delivery. That was what audiences wanted to hear at that time. An artist who maybe couldn't have gotten his breakthrough in quite the same way at any other time. Perch was a DJ, a Jamaican version of a rapper, toasting or chatting his lyrics live on the microphone in the dance hall on a sound system. He was born Floyd Anthony Perch, September 30th, 1959 in Kingston, Jamaica. Grew up in the Waltham area of the city, attended a Catholic school as a child, and later moved to the Waterhouse district, where he would attend Tivoli Garden High School, not an area for the faint of heart. Began to get interested in music at a very young age. He would tune in to singers like Prince Buster and the Kingstonians and began to mess around with music himself. He was discouraged by his Aunt Mabel in this, apparently, who rebuked him for trying to do music. That must have stung him at a young age, as he would mention that in his mini autobiography on the back of his debut LP years later. Nonetheless, he kept up with it. While working a day job as a tailor, he would begin performing as a DJ on sound systems, at first with a very obscure one called Montague. The first big name sound he would appear on would be the well-known Ray Symbolic. He was well received on that set. At this time, he was styling himself on stage as Pretty Boy Floyd. Floyd, his real first name, and there was a fad in American gangster names for DJs at this time, starting with the great Dennis Al Capone and continuing on to Dillinger, who is one of Floyd's idols as a DJ, along with Trinity. Two artists he admired, looked up to. At some point, he would form a singing trio with a couple of other youths called Higher Region. They would go down to Joe Gibbs' studio with a song they had made up called Mango Tree. That song would never end up coming out, but Floyd Perch himself would return to Joe Gibbs' studio, where he would end up recording his debut solo single. He had one day decided to cut his hair very short to see how it looked, and some friends in the sound system world began jokingly calling him N-word Kojak. Not going to say the word out loud, but basically calling him the black version of Kojak, the famed TV detective played by Telly Savalas. Perch, in a fit of inspiration, would take this on as his new stage gimmick. He would shave his head completely bald, sometimes sport a lollipop on stage like the Telly Savalas character did, and he would call himself Kojak from here on. Initially in his early days, N-word Kojak, and that was how his first records appeared. His first solo side would be recorded at Joe Gibbs. It would ride a rhythm track called Storm, adapted from the Gregory Isaacs song of the same name, and would comment on the Green Bay massacre that occurred in Jamaica on January 5th of 1978. This was a politically motivated killing in which 5 men affiliated with the opposition Jamaican Labour Party had been lured out to the Green Bay firing range on pretext of obtaining weapons and jobs. And once there, they were opened fire on by elements of the Jamaican Defense Forces. 5 men killed, including a singer named Glenroy Richards. The incident caused outrage on the island. Many artists wrote songs about it. Big Youth put out a song called Green Bay Killing, as did DJ Tapazuki. Producer Glenn Brown, who had recorded Glenroy Richards, would later compile a whole various artists LP called Green Bay Killing, after a rhythm track he named after the incident. This is signed by Glenn Brown, by the way. Floyd Perch's debut solo single would be on this subject, the Green Bay Killing. The song would be called Massacre. Would be maybe the punchiest, most exuberant song on a political assassination you've ever heard, with its emphatic chorus of "Bo, oh Lord." And he would introduce himself in the opening lines of that song by his stage name, N. Kojak, and that's how it would appear on the 7-inch single on the Belmont label, a Joe Gibbs imprint, Massacre, aka Green Bay Killing by Kojak, his debut single. The song was a hit. He was intimidated to voice it at first because his idols, Dillinger and Trinity, right there in the studio. But while he was voicing it, everybody was dancing. It was apparent the song was going to be a hit. He had recorded it on a Monday. By Wednesday, it had already been pressed to vinyl and was out on the streets. It would be his first hit song.
Music is my game, alright. When I throw this one to your brain, you're bound to spread my name. Oh Lord, come and say Green Bay killing a murder. Oh Lord, because the Babylon won't put it further. Oh Lord.
That very first hit by Kojak, Massacre, aka Green Bay Killing, can be found on various compilations, usually Joe Gibbs related. For example, it's on Joe Gibbs' 12-inch Reggae Disco Mixes Volume 1 from VP Records, where it appears in extended mix with the original vocal cut, You Jammin' So, by Madhu, segueing right into Kojak's lyrics on Green Bay Killing. The idea was these would come out as extended 12-inch singles, vocal followed by DJ or dub for extended play on sound systems. With this first hit, Out Upon Road, Kojak would get the opportunity to record some more songs at Joe Gibbs over the next couple of years. For his very next song, a cut to singer Dennis Brown's cover of Ain't That Loving You, he would bring in a female vocalist to trade off lyrics with him. Credited only to him, but in the song called Hole in the Bucket, he would adapt from a children's song, but take it in a much more suggestive direction, with the female identified as Liza, doing an exchange with Kojak where they talk about a bucket that's got a hole in it. Kojak goes, "There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza," to which Liza replies, "Well, cork it, Kojak, cork it." "With what, dear Liza?" he replies. "With a stick, Kojak." And he replies, "The stick's too big for the bucket, dear Liza," to which she responds, "Well, ram it, Kojak, Ram It. Rather suggestive. This would be the first hit by a combination male and female DJ, the notorious Hole in the Bucket. Don't have that on vinyl, I don't believe, but it can be found on the Mighty 2 compilation from Heartbeat Records from 1992. Very last song, Ram It by Kojak and Liza, originally credited just to Kojak and titled Hole in the Bucket. The suggestive Hole in the Bucket was released in November of that year, became a hit through the Christmas season. With this success, Kojak would latch upon the idea of a permanent partnership between him and Liza, though he would reportedly use more than one woman in the role of Liza. There actually was no Liza. It was just a line in the song that he used to refer to the backup female vocalist, one of whom would become a mother to one of his children. He would have 7 in total in his life. The next song, indeed, would be credited to Kojak and Liza with the newly minted male-female DJ partnership in place. That would be a song called Fist to Fist Rub-a-Dub. Don't think I have that one on vinyl, but it can be found on the Soul Jazz compilation, Joe Gibbs production, Kojak and Liza, Fist to Fist Rub-a-Dub. And that would be followed up by yet another hit between the duo, Sky Juice, riding the Far East rhythm, commenting on a popular drink sold in the streets of Jamaica, seen here on the Errol T 7-inch, Kojak and Liza with Sky Juice. Also have the Joe Gibbs 12-inch single of that. 12-inch single, maybe the best way, in my opinion, to hear DJ sides, segueing from the original vocal right into the DJ cut, kind of elevates the energy, takes it to a whole new level. The duo of Kojak and Liza would continue recording more hits for Joe Gibbs. They would record Bam Bam over Cornell Campbell's boxing rhythm and pair up with singer Barrington Levy for the DJ cut to his hit My Woman at Joe Gibbs, 10,000 Gal, aka Mash Mouth. Bit of a more boastful side to Kojak and Liza, with the duo now established in terms of success. The next step for Kojak would be to start producing for himself.
Every little bit, them a jump and
these hit songs he'd been having at Joe Gibbs' studio, Kojak was being paid royalties of 10 cents per record sold. If 1,000 copies of a song moved, then he would make $100. With his first royalty check paid to him by Joe Gibbs, he would go over to Channel 1 studio and invest in some time to work on his own self-productions. The first song he would record there would be a solo side without Liza, writing the real rock rhythm originally done at Studio One some years before, but enjoying a second wave of popularity in the early dancehall era when many rhythms were being done over again in a new style, particularly ones from Studio One. And this song may have been an answer of sorts to DJ duo Michigan and Smiley, who had had a hit with Nice Up the Dance in 1979, also on the same real rock rhythm. Kojak's song would be called Nice Up Jamaica and would actually be endorsed by the Jamaican Tourist Board. The next solo side he would record at Channel 1 would be one called Penitentiary, and by 1980, Kojak had enough to issue his debut solo LP, again credited to him and Liza, although some tracks feature only himself solo. This would originally appear, for some reason, on Bunny Lee's Gorgon label, but Kojak would swiftly reissue it on his own eponymous label for his own self-productions. It's called, credited to N-word Kojak and Liza. Hopefully I could show that without getting blocked. Showcase LP 1980 here on Kojak's own label. It's an unwritten rule in reggae. Any album cover with somebody leaning up against a car, you automatically buy it. It's almost invariably good. Kojak, perhaps utilizing his tailor skills to craft his own costumes there, I suspect. 6 songs on here, showcase style in the fashion of the times, all the vocals followed by dub versions. Cracker of an album. The only LP I have by him, unfortunately, recorded at Channel 1 studio by the Revolutionaries. I love some of the notes on the back. Here's the mini biography written by Kojak himself I referenced earlier. Some of the little notes here are pretty cool. Engineers, Maxi, and Crucial Bunny. So right now, nothing no funny. I, Kojak, say, I will always do my ting to keep you rocking and swing. Do you hear? So you all gone clear. Somewhat of the dance hall style of the time in the little captions and blurbs there. Cracker of an album by Kojak, and this would find him revisiting the rhythm of his first hit, Massacre, the storm rhythm, for a new song called Down by the Riverside, which incorporates a bit of the gospel standard Swing Down, Sweet Chariot. Also Too Bad Duppy and Black Skin. Corker of an album, 1980, Kojak and Liza in the full swing of the early dancehall era. that mini autobiography on the back of the debut album, Showcase. Kojak confirms there's more than one woman used as Liza on his songs, neither of them even named Liza, as he mentions Beverly Brown and Jacqueline Boland. Perhaps there may have been more, I've heard indicated. He also thanks the Moa Ambassa sound system crew out of the UK. Moa Ambassa was a sound based in southwest London, I believe. I think they brought Kojak over to do some performances in the UK. He began to move very closely with them as he got further and further into self-production and starting to produce other artists. He would help found a Moa Ambassa label, which would house some of his productions in the UK. On that debut album, he had a song called Penitentiary, one of his very first solo productions he recorded. The rhythm of that would be used over for another song, which was originally a dub plate to be used by Moa Ambassa, was voiced by singer Barrington Levy along with DJ Ja Thomas, and called Tribute to Moa Ambassa. Don't think I have that anywhere on vinyl. I do have it on CDR somewhere. Wicked piece of tune using the same rhythm as Penitentiary by Kojak. He would also voice Bunny Rygen as a further DJ cut to that rhythm, and would release it on his own eponymous label. Moa Ambassa, meanwhile, would start to release Kojak Productions, Moa Ambassa International. This is a reissue from several years ago, a 12-inch single with singer King Everall, joined by DJ Ringo, doing Mosquito One, produced by Kojak, but appearing on Moa Ambassa's label in the UK, a reissue through Ernie B's Reggae from back in the day. Kojak would also discover a new dancehall singer by the name of Delton Lowe, who performed under the name Delton Screechy, reportedly gave him his first record, a song called Evil Woman, again appearing on Kojak's own eponymous label in Jamaica. Delton Screechy with Evil Woman, dipping back into the Lord Shelley's disco collection from a bulk lot I purchased years ago. And that again uses that real rock rhythm track, super popular in the early dancehall era, the early 1980s. There would be a Delton Screechy album called Living in the Ghetto Showcase. May have been produced by Kojak. I think he was involved with the reissue of it just a couple of years ago, 2022-ish. Also have a further reissue from around the same time as that single, Ja Is My Light by Delton Screechy, Moa Ambassa International reissue from several years ago, showing that roots and culture concerns could still fit within the framework of the new dance hall style of the early 1980s. Kojak would continue to release albums. One called Rock Kojak Rock came out in 1983, recorded live at Prince Jammy's studio. Another one called credited to Mother Liza in the headline position, Mother Liza and Kojak Chant Down Babylon. Maybe gave Liza a more prominent role on that album, very comparable in quality to Showcase, good album, and giving Liza more of a chance to shine, perhaps, again with some roots and culture themes to the lyrics, and even touching on the Bone Man connection, the connection framework of DJ lyrics, popular at the time, as Liza name checks some of the female DJs around on Woman DJ Connection. Kojak, meanwhile, was still performing live on sound systems and appeared on the very first live sound system album ever released, A DJ Explosion in a Dancehall Style, released by Heartbeat Records in 1982. He's on there with Jam Papa Kojak. Heartbeat Records, a DJ Explosion, the very first live dance hall recording. They were being surreptitiously recorded to cassette and traded back and forth, spread all over the reggae world that way, spreading the name of some of the performers who hadn't yet gotten a chance to break through on record. But this was the first official album release of a live dance hall session. The milieu in which many of the artists prominent at this time had cut their teeth and made their names. Kojak would eventually begin tapering off his recordings as the style began to shift again later in the 80s, the digital era of dancehall coming in, though he did record sporadically, kept doing some productions, kept performing live and voicing dub plates until very recently. Seems he was involved with a series of reissues that I mentioned that came out around 2022 through the Deep Roots Reggae Shop in France. They reissued this album, though this is a vintage copy I found locally some years back. Papa Kojak, gone, but one of the perhaps unsung pioneers of the early dancehall phase of reggae music. Hope you've enjoyed, guys. Cheers.